Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
We're diving straight into a really powerful story today. It was shared by one of you. Let's call you the learner.
Right.
And our mission really is to unpack it, understand its core, and see what it reveals about, well, bigger issues.
Exactly. We've got this narrative about Elias Matondo. He's an Angolan man.
Yeah.
And we're going to explore the key moments, the turning points in his 2 decades in South Africa.
2 decades, wow.
Yeah, the ongoing challenges he faces and sort of what his experience can teach us.
Okay, so Elias arrived in South Africa from Angola back in 2005. He was seeking opportunity.
Just 20 years old then.
Right, just 20. And what immediately jumps out, I think, is that by then, South Africa wasn't accepting Angolans as refugees anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's critical.
That single fact kind of throws his initial hopes into jeopardy right away, doesn't it?
It really does. That's the first key point to understand, I think. He arrives, hoping for a better life. But the legal path he probably expected, seeking refugee status, it just wasn't an option anymore for Angolans.
Well, he's immediately in a tough spot.
Instantly precarious, yeah. And it highlights this tension you often see in immigration systems, right?
What is that?
Well, the gap between, let's say, humanitarian needs and these really rigid legal frameworks,
Okay.
it forces people into these uncertain situations from the very start.
And then there's this moment, an act of kindness, really, but it also shows how fragile things were for him.
Tell us about that.
Well, Elias meets this woman, and her aunt had actually traveled with him.
Okay.
This woman takes him to the Refugees Home Affairs office.
No.
And she adds him to her refugee family list.
Ah.
But, and this is crucial, under a different name, a borrowed identity.
Right. It's incredibly compassionate, no doubt.
For sure.
But it really highlights the risks Elias was facing immediately. He gets some kind of protection, but it's based on someone else's identity. It's a temporary fix, with potentially huge downsides later on.
And those downsides, well, they definitely show up.
Yeah.
When the contract for Angolan refugees gets terminated.
Ah, okay. So the basis for that initial status disappears.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the legal ground under his feet just vanishes. It's easy for us to say loss of legal status, but what does that actually mean day to day, beyond just work and banking?
Oh, it's much deeper than just those things. Losing legal status means he can't formally register his presence anywhere.
So things like,
Well, accessing healthcare properly, enrolling in, say, education programs, even just participating fully in civic life.
right.
He essentially becomes invisible to the system in really fundamental ways. It wasn't just some admin change. The whole basis for his temporary protection was gone.
Leaving him completely undocumented.
Pretty much, yeah. No recognized status at all.
So then we see Elias trying to, find a way back into the system. In 2016, he plans to go back to Angola, sort out his paperwork there.
Right, go back to the source.
But then tragedy strikes. His mother-in-law passes away, and he can't make the trip.
Oh, wow.
It feels like he's constantly hitting these unforeseen roadblocks.
And what's interesting there, I think, is how life just carries on despite these legal nightmares.
Oh, so.
Well, he gets married to a South African citizen.
Okay.
They have 3 children, also South African citizens.
So he's building this family, putting down deep roots in the country.
Exactly, deep roots. Yet his own legal status is still incredibly shaky, very vulnerable.
He even manages to get a new passport from Angola at one point.
You'd think that would help, right? A big step.
You would. But because he's already in South Africa and he never got that initial legal entry stamp.
The catch-22.
He can't get the crucial entry stamp on this new passport. It seems so counterintuitive.
It does. Like, having a valid passport from your home country should count as something, shouldn't it? Does this show a kind of flaw in how internal and external immigration processes connect, or maybe don't connect?
I think it absolutely does.
Yeah.
It reveals a real disconnect. Possessing your own country's documents isn't enough without the host country's corresponding entry paperwork.
Right.
And that rigidity, it can trap people in these bureaucratic loops, just going round and round with no easy way out.
And then to make matters worse, that passport eventually expires.
So another door closes.
Yeah.
He has to abandon that approach.
Just setback after setback. But he's persistent.
You have to admire that.
More recently, he gets another new passport.
Okay, third time lucky, maybe.
Let's hope. His current focus now is on getting a 3-month visit stamp.
A visit stamp. Why just 3 months? Why is that specific stamp so critical now?
Good question.
It seems quite short term.
It does, but this stamp, it seems, is key because it would let him enter South Africa legally, finally, under his own name. Ah, okay. So it creates a documented entry point under his actual identity.
Exactly. And that documented entry, he hopes, could then be used to regularize his marriage certificate with Home Affairs.
Right. Link his legal identity to his marriage.
And then subsequently amend his children's birth certificates so they reflect his correct name as the father.
So it's really about establishing those fundamental legal ties to his own family.
Precisely. It's foundational stuff.
Makes sense.
He even, tried getting help from private agencies along the way, hoping they could navigate this maze for him.
Understandable. The system is complex.
But sadly, the story says they just took his money. No solutions provided.
That's awful. And it really speaks to the vulnerability of people in Elias's position, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, you're desperate for a solution, for any kind of help, and that desperation can make you a target for exploitation.
Right. People preying on that vulnerability.
Exactly. It just compounds the problems. The complexity of the system itself kind of creates these opportunities for unscrupulous actors.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. So here's Elias today. He's 40 years old.
Half his life.
Half his life spent in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Married, 3 South African kids.
Yeah.
Yet he feels, and this is his word, like a prisoner in his adopted homeland.
Wow. That's a really stark way to put it.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Despite building a life, a family, contributing in all these ways we'll talk about. He lacks that fundamental legal recognition.
The basics.
The absolute basics. No bank account in his name, no property, can't even register a car.
Mm-hmm.
Things we just take for granted. They're completely out of reach for him.
And it just underscores the profound impact of lacking legal status,
Yeah.
It's not just about official papers. It seeps into every single aspect of your daily life. It limits opportunities, hinders your ability to build any kind of secure future for him, for his family.
And yet, despite all this, he's incredibly resourceful.
Oh, yeah.
The list of things he does to generate income is pretty remarkable. Okay, get this. Cutting hair, reupholstering furniture, making music, writing ebooks, shooting music videos. He even lends small amounts of money, like a micro-lender.
Wow. That's quite a range. Hustling.
Totally. And his resourcefulness really highlights something important, doesn't it?
What's that?
That often people without formal status are contributing significantly to the economy, to the community, just in informal ways.
Absolutely. But those contributions often aren't seen or factored into their legal standing at all.
Right. They remain invisible in that sense, too.
Yeah, he demonstrates incredible resilience, though, that determination to provide despite these huge obstacles.
Definitely.
It really highlights the human capacity to adapt, to survive, even in really, really challenging circumstances.
The narrative also mentions the strain this puts on his marriage.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it mentions tensions, arguments with his wife, who works, while he's often caring for their young child because his work options are so limited or informal.
Understandable. The emotional weight, the constant uncertainty, the financial pressure, it must be immense for both of them.
It puts a huge burden on the whole family, right?
For sure. His lack of secure status creates this ripple effect. It impacts his wife's well-being, the stability of their home, that constant stress, that insecurity. It inevitably causes friction.
And it's reached a point where he's actually considering leaving South Africa.
Leaving after 20 years, with his family there.
Yeah, leaving the only home his children have ever known.
That's drastic.
But leaving comes with its own huge risk. A potential 5-year reentry ban.
Which could separate him from his family for years.
Exactly. It's a truly desperate calculation he's being forced to make.
God, that just shows the depth of his desperation, doesn't it?
It really does.
I mean, leaving the country where your kids were born, where your whole life is centered now, that's an absolute last resort.
Yeah.
It's a testament to just how unbearable his current situation must feel.
It underscores the agonizing choices people in his situation face.
Totally. Weighing, the possibility of legal stability somewhere else against the massive disruption of uprooting everything, their lives, their families.
And then there's this other detail, quite unsettling.
Yeah.
About his dreams.
Dreams.
Yeah, he apparently has these strange dreams filled with unknown names.
Huh. That's interesting.
It really speaks to this deep feeling of displacement, maybe, of not truly belonging anywhere. Perhaps not even fully belonging to himself after all this time under a borrowed name, in limbo.
That makes sense. Those dreams could well be a manifestation, like a psychological echo, of the toll this prolonged uncertainty has taken.
Yeah.
That feeling of being caught between identities, between worlds, not fully rooted. It can profoundly impact your sense of self, your sense of belonging.
So after 20 years, the picture we get is someone who feels lost, frustrated, and just desperate for legitimacy.
Yeah. It's hard not to feel for him, for his whole family.
And it's so important to remember, as the narrative points out, Elias's story isn't, unique.
Sadly not.
It reflects the reality for just countless immigrants caught in similar situations.
Caught between worlds, between systems, sometimes between identities, navigating complex rules, facing bureaucratic walls, living with constant uncertainty about the future.
And this lack of recognition, it points to a kind of societal blind spot, doesn't it?
I think so. We often fail to really see or account for the social, the economic contributions of undocumented individuals.
Yeah.
We tend to view them only through the lens of their legal status or lack thereof.
Okay, so let's just recap quickly. We've followed Elias's journey.
Right.
His initial hopes when he arrived, that unexpected legal barrier hitting him right away, the borrowed identity, the relentless struggle through bureaucracy.
The termination of status, the attempts to regularize, the setbacks.
Yeah, the constant fight just for basic recognition and the heavy personal cost. For him, for his wife, his kids.
This deep dive into his story, it really does illuminate the human impact of these immigration systems.
Definitely. It's not just about policies and procedures on paper, is it?
Not at all. It's about real lives, real families, and the often unseen consequences these systems have.
It certainly is. Which leads us to a final thought, perhaps for you, the listener, to consider.
Right. Thinking about Elias' situation, someone literally trapped in legal limbo for 2 decades. What are the broader costs?
Yeah, the cost to society. When individuals are stuck like this for so long.
What potential is lost? What contributions go unrecognized or unrealized? And what are the longer-term social, maybe economic implications when people are denied basic legal recognition even after building lives and families within a society?
It's a really significant question to think about. What are those unseen costs?